I went through the morning announcements in the 5th grade.
Okay.
And
so you did that?
I did that. I did the morning announcements. And I love like reading, okay, today for lunch we're having. And just seeing people's like eyes when they would see, oh, I didn't know that was for lunch today. It kind of sparked my curiosity to tell people things they didn't know. So the
distribution of information was something you identified early on.
So my biggest thing is just inspiring young Black boys, especially in our communities, that, hey, like me with my daughter, me with my wife, a 2-parent household, me doing what I'm doing, the way I'm dressing, you can be this too, but you got to put the work in first. And so I think my biggest thing is, of course, telling the stories that matter.
What was the career point that brought you to your next step?
I get a call from CNN. And CNN watched, my breaking stories because, there's so many national stories coming out of South Florida.
Welcome to the Business is War podcast. On this platform, we talk about everything, any and everything that's related to business, commerce, economy, politics, personal solutions, journeys, however and whatever. We do it here and we do it better than anyone. And so one of the things that I like to call this platform is a learning platform. We learn any and everything that we can to help life be better, just a little bit better and more relatable to you. So today our guest is Darryl Forges. He's an Emmy Award-winning journalist, broadcast journalist. He's a native of Louisiana, and we're going to welcome him with open arms to the show. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Really appreciate it.
Man, listen, it's my pleasure. So how do you get to be a kid from Harvey, Louisiana, to the television screen where you become the voice of authority, the voice of reason, and you're broadcasting today's events and so many other things and covering critical stories? Let's get into your journey and how you got there.
Oh, man. First of all, it's God and my family. I grew up in a very religious household. My mom and my dad, they mean the world to me. They sacrificed so much for me to be here. So I was born in Harvey. My mom was born and raised there. My dad was born and raised in the Iberville projects, and he went to Warren Easton. Mom went to West Jeff, and they moved to Atlanta when I was 5.
Okay.
Just some different opportunities. Went through school, and it's kind of funny. I went through the morning announcements in the 5th grade.
Okay.
And
so you did that?
I did that. I did the morning announcements, and I love like reading, okay, today for lunch we're having, and just seeing people's like eyes when they would see, oh, I didn't know that was for lunch today. It kind of sparked my curiosity to tell people things they didn't know. So the distribution
of information was something you identified early on?
Absolutely.
Gotcha.
And then I went on and carried that into college, and then from college into my first job in Montgomery, Alabama, working in a small market in Greenville. Then went from there, won several awards, interviewed Oprah Winfrey. That journey to that wasn't easy because I had a lot of no's. Yeah. I had over 34 stations I applied to. They all said no.
Let's go back to college first.
Yeah, absolutely.
What did you study in college?
Mass communications and minored in political science. Okay. Because some people thought I would be a politician if I didn't go into news.
So mass communications, and for all intents and purposes, it's a literary degree. It's on the literacy side. It's not like it's math and science. It's actual spoken words and understanding languages and communicating skills. And so you were able to get this core curriculum at college. Is that correct?
Yeah. Writing is half the battle in this business. You got to be able to write. You got to tell a story. So if I try to explain this complicated bill or this complicated situation in the city of New Orleans or the state of Louisiana, my job is to digest it and help you understand it. And that means I have to be able to be a good storyteller, good writer, conversational writer and storyteller. And if I can't do that, that means you can't understand. So you definitely got to be a good writer, and that's really half the battle in this business.
Mass communications, where they teach you layers and layers upon layers of storytelling, writing, journalism, and the ability to communicate that message.
Absolutely. And also, you got to be able to take anything in life, but especially in the news business, you got to be able to take criticism because, you have some folks who just think, oh, I got it. I'm good, but nah, we all got some work to do. And I had one teacher at my college, University of West Georgia, go West, go Wolves. Her name was Miss Sonia Barnes, and she ripped me apart. She ripped me apart. She tore me up. She was hard on me. I would get my writing papers back. I would get, 20 out of 10 or 2 out of 10. I would get a 20% on my work. And she said, I'm doing this because I see the potential in you. You got it in there. It's my job to bring it out in you. And that made me better.
Isn't that crazy that we remember the teachers that gives us a lot of hope or none at all? But the ones in the middle, we never remember that.
Never.
So let that be a lesson to everyone that lukewarm will get you no reward.
Absolutely. And if you're looking for, sorry to cut you off, if you're looking for someone just to tell you how great you are, that's not what you need. You need somebody who's going to be constantly on you, especially, as a black man, you hear the saying, gotta be twice as good to get half as much. You got to continue to work hard each and every day. Know your stuff, dress the part, know your terminology, do your homework on these stories, and know what you have to do, because you have to be at tip top when it comes to this overall business. Explain
to me how you graduate from college, you get a piece of paper, you say, I have a degree, my name is Darryl. How do you go from there to a television station? Give me that transition.
It was a hard transition because I was heavily involved in college. I had my own political radio show. I was a news director of the
So you was a problem back in the day.
Oh, in my eyes, I was him in college, right? And I was quickly humbled when I graduated. I applied to 34 stations. I was like, oh man, someone's gonna hire me. Nothing. I got, you talk too fast. You don't dress the part. Nah, you're not what we're looking for. Just so many different things. And so for the first 6 months when I graduated, I didn't have a job. And so thank God Ms. Barnes, my teacher, allowed me to come back and redo my reel here and there. But I was discouraged. I had one news director call me in finally. I'm excited. And he said, I just want to go ahead and flat out tell you, you're not going to do news. I can put you in sales, but news is not for you. You just don't have it.
Ooh, boy, that's humbling, ain't it?
Yeah.
So you built your collegiate career on getting, in front of the camera, and somebody just called you and said, "I'll put you behind the camera." Mm-hmm. And that's some chicken soup medicine. So what did you do with that information?
I got my car, not enough much gas money, and I cried my eyes out 2 hours away back home in Atlanta. Cried. And so I remember I got this, I used to work for Chick-fil-A way back when I was in high school. And there was a quote that's framed that Truett Cathy, because it was in Georgia, he gave all of his employees. And the quote was, if it's meant to be, it's up to me.
Okay.
And so I never paid much attention to it because he gave us money. I was focused on the money, not the plaque. And so I was cleaning through my things, and I came up on this plaque that said, if it's meant to be, it's up to me. And that's when it hit me. I told myself, I'm not going to give up on this dream. And I met somebody from college who I was really cool with, and she said, hey, Darryl, we have an opening at our station in Montgomery. You're going to be stationed in Greenville. It's a very small country town, and you may be the only black person there in some parts, but, I think this could be a good first step for you. And I didn't care. I was hungry at the time. And so I came in.
Go ahead on, Darryl. You wanted some food.
Yeah, I was hungry. It was time to eat.
So you went to this, I don't want to say that. You went to a smaller market and you took that job.
Yeah, I took that job.
Tell me about it.
Took that job. I was making, $25,000 a year, but I didn't care. I got my opportunity. And so as soon as I went in, hit the ground running, and I went from not having a job to 3 weeks later, I'm interviewing Oprah Winfrey.
I need you to take your time for a second.
Yeah.
Because, you could have still been in your feelings. You took a $25,000 a year job to do what it is that you wanted to do, but maybe just not exactly how. But let's call it what it is. I speak to colleges all the time, and I'm telling kids, you ain't gonna just walk out here and grab 6 figures. It doesn't really work like that. In some instances, it can with specialized degrees, but you know what? You've built your business and you put in the reps and you were willing to take the first step. That is tremendous. I salute you for that. So that opportunity led to another one.
Absolutely.
So sometimes you gotta turn the door in front of you instead of starting from scratch and trying to build a house.
Say it again.
But again, though, we live in a very narcissistic world where the person in college is looking at the person at the top of the food chain thinking, I need to get there, not understanding the many rungs on the ladder that they've had to climb in order to get to that point. And that's the frustration I have with this generation right now. We are microwave.
Yeah.
We want to put it in there and 2 minutes later something's happening.
Yeah.
It doesn't really work like that. Listen, even the baker understands you got to let the bread rise.
And a lot of them, not all, but a lot of them are really quick to, once they get to that level and they fail, it's a real bad fail because they weren't ready for that next step.
Because their ego is so much bigger.
Exactly.
Do you realize, I'm going to say this, 20 years ago, a young kid knew that they were a young kid and they had young kid thought processes. Today, because of the access to information and the way that these kids are grabbing the phones and running straight to the top of the food chain, they've missed so many of the developmental things that make humility a normal component for youth. And so I struggle with that because I'm trying to teach people, hey, you got to put one foot in front of the other. You can't, what they say, you can't run into running. You got to walk into running, you know?
You know what they say, humble yourself, right? You got to be realistic with yourself. And look, before I got my first job, I was one of them, I have to admit, because I was killing it in college, doing all these organizations and all this other stuff. And I remember I went to a media day program that my college had, and I sent my resume to this lady who worked at one of the local stations in Atlanta, and she said, "So what do you want to do when you get out of college?" I said, "I'm going to apply for CNN." She looked at me and said, "Are you crazy?"
Wow.
She's like, "I'm sorry, you ain't getting CNN out of college, boo."
Yeah.
And I'm like, "What are you talking about?" She goes, "No, you got to build experience.
That's
to
the
get
major
to that
leagues.
Point. Yeah.
You got to go and play in Nobody, Louisiana in order to actually be ready to get on the big stage and swing against the best in the game.
Yep. 100%.
The most resources, et cetera, et cetera. So 25,000, you're in a small market. Tell me what the day-to-day like was for that.
So I was what you called a multimedia journalist. So I shot, wrote, and edit my own stuff. And so I'm in this small town, and it was great. People were great in Greenville, Alabama, and I was covering 3 counties. I was covering Butler County, Crenshaw County, and in this place called Luverne, Alabama, in Andalusia. And so I'm in these rural areas, covering them by myself with this camera. I had to live in Greenville, so I was doing all these different things, trying to just focus on grinding my way out. One of my first stories I covered was this guy got bit by a lion or something like that.
By what?
By something out there in the country. and I had to go out there. I had to go through gravel dirt roads in order to get to this guy. And there was this white guy who looked at me and he was like, "Who are you?" You know what I mean? Like, I had to work through that.
But it was a story.
It was a story. And my mindset was, I was not focused on where I was. My focus was just on enjoying the journey. Because I get so caught up in trying to get to the top.
Now, hold on. Did you have 10 kids at that time?
I did not.
I want you to know that happens.
Mm-hmm.
And so many people don't realize that if you look back at your life, all of the things that you went through and all of the things that distracted you and hindered your growth and oppressed you, all of the inflictions, as they say, the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, okay? All of those things, it was perfect timing.
Absolutely.
And so people ask me all the time, "Ellie, if you can go back in your past and change any one thing, what would it be?" Well, if I did that, I wouldn't be who I am today. But I would say that I would keep playing the piano, but that's another story, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, just think about that, man.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you imagine having 4 kids at that time?
No, not at all. But
so many of us are, we make decisions that lead us down places like that.
Absolutely.
And I think that children should stay children for as long as they can because, man, listen, adulthood it's rushing towards you. You don't need to rush toward it.
No, don't rush toward it. Just enjoy your life, okay? Enjoy your life. I got friends who tell me right now, like, "Yeah, man, I just got married. I'm thinking about having my first, having kids." Enjoy your marriage.
Yeah, not only that, listen. Travel together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Put a few memories in the bank.
Absolutely.
And I tell people that's the Michelle and Barack model, is that you have the babies in your late 30s. You done did college. Hopefully your loans are paid for. And can you imagine being a young mother, a father, family, one or two on the docket with student loans still in the household? Come on, man.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot.
And that's why I said on this platform, Business is War, you got to make your life a life that you're very proud of and that's worth living, because ain't nobody got time for that. Mm-mm. Ain't nobody got time for that. So let's get back to Greenville because we're gonna keep moving forward. So, so you're doing stories on people who getting bit by lions and shit, right? Okay,
all kinds of stuff. Yeah.
So tell me what it's like when you say you had your own camera. What does that mean?
So I woke up. I had to do call into our morning meetings because the main newsroom was in Montgomery, Alabama. So I had to call in and tell them like, "Hey, here's my story for the day." And there were some days where I didn't have a story. And so I had to, what you call enterprise a story, come up with it. And there were some days I literally had nothing. And so my news director said, "Well, you better find one. You better find a story." That's producing. And so I literally got in the news car and I drove around and I was looking for stories. And I met people, had these contacts, and I would interview them, get these shots, run around an hour, 2 hours here and there. put the story together, write it. I would have to like flip the viewfinder from the camera around to shoot myself to, get the shots I wanted.
Wait, you didn't have a cameraman?
No, that's a multimedia journalist. I shot, wrote, and edited my own stuff. I had to carry the camera, had to carry the tripod. Sometimes I had to bring the laptop and the cameras. They weren't that small. They were big cameras.
That is funny as hell. You know that, right?
Yeah, man. I do it all. And then sometimes if they wanted me to go live, I had to do my own live shots.
So if you were filming somebody, you had to hold the camera and then go back around it, all that.
Yeah, I would have to if I'm interviewing somebody, I would have them turn a certain way, rule of thirds in one part of the camera, and I would have you see them, but I would watch the viewfinder, looking at the shot, make sure they didn't go in and out of the shot, and have the mic out. So I'm listening to them telling me and asking questions, but I'm also making sure they ain't coming out of the camera.
You gotta understand something. They call that chopping wood, and that's putting in the reps. Mm-hmm. Drake said you wasn't with me shooting in the gym. I need you to understand something. Yeah. That's what I love. Yeah. Because there's no way that you're going to be here if you wasn't there.
No, not at all.
And to the young people, please understand, you got to shoot the reps.
And that also makes you so much better. Because even when I eventually graduated and got my own photographer, mm-hmm. I would still, you have this certain, when you're a multimedia journalist, and many of them know what I'm talking about, where you develop this eye and this ear for certain shots and natural sound and whatever. And so sometimes, I have great photographers at WDSU. I might seek and say, oh, you get a shot of that? Oh, I heard that sound. Can you get a shot of that? Can you get put your mic right there and get that sound? That ear and that eye that developed was because I was a multimedia. Just a lot of that helped me along the way.
Time in the game. So how do you leave that junior varsity team and get to the next one? What was that transition?
Oh, man. So that's a whole other story in itself. So I attended a convention called the National Association of Black Journalists, which is a humongous organization. And they do amazing work for black journalists all across the country. And I went that year. It was in Washington, D.C. Again, I was making $24,000 a year. I was maxed out on my credit cards. Yeah. And my station, thank God, decided, we'll pay for your registration. For the registration, like $400, $300, something like that. So they paid for that, but I had to make my way there. Mm-hmm. So I went up there. I swiped my card declined. It was rough, man.
Hey, listen, rough. This is how you stretch your hamstrings and your quads because you're building.
Yes.
Okay, so you don't got declined and whatever.
Got declined, and they're like, okay, hold on, we might be able to still do something for you or whatever. And then somehow I talked to one of the managers. She was nice and said, okay, maybe something's wrong with your card today. We'll take care of it tomorrow. But we have your room ready for you. So I called my mom, hey, can you send me some money? Send me some money, we took care of it. So the next day, this lady came to me and said, hey, Miami, NBC station, they have a booth, and one of the news directors from Miami, her name is Magdalia Figueroa, they said, hey, she's looking for some reporters in Miami. And I was like, I want to meet her. And I went up there, and she had about probably 20, 30 people in front of me. Gorgeous men, women who were in these other markets who were like, I'm bilingual. I can speak English and Spanish. She had these amazing folks who came to her, and I'm like, there's no way she's going to be able to speak. I was the last person she spoke to. I come up to her, said, hey, I just wanted to show you my reel. So I showed her my reel, my work I did in Alabama. She said, oh, okay. She looked at me and said, what are you doing next week? I said, I'm working. How would you feel if I fly you out to Miami for an interview?
We call that favor, homeboy. We call that favor.
She goes, we'll fly you out next week. So I fly out to Miami, fast forward for the interview, met her. I was overwhelmed because I'm coming from the small market to one of the top 20 markets in the country, covering Miami and Fort Lauderdale. And it's a huge newsroom. I'm overwhelmed. I meet the people there, the anchors, the reporters, these amazing folks. And she talked to me, and I thought I was kind of scared. I was nervous, man. The next day, got the offer.
I'm not mad with you.
Made my way to Miami, worked for WTVJ for 3 years there.
Congratulations. And guess what? That's because you were humble enough to take the first step, and you were contentious enough to keep moving forward, and formidable enough to be the person that was ready for the opportunity. They say luck is labor under correct knowledge. And you've done your due diligence, and I salute you, and congratulations on getting to Miami. All right, so you're in Miami. Did they have any hurricanes happen? What happened in Miami?
No, well, thank God during the time I was there was no hurricane. There's some tropical storms here and there, but actually there was one, but it wasn't that bad. But it was a wonderful experience. Miami is one of the toughest markets in the country.
Tell me why.
Because every day is a breaking story. There's breaking stories. No,
drama.
drama each and every day. You know those Florida man stories, where it's like stories you only hear and I'll tell you some stories off camera, but there are some stories I'm like, oh my God, I'm really covering this, or mainly ones like the passion stories of like the man he caught his wife cheating on him with the police officer and stabbed him 37 times, like stuff like that.
That's a normal day in Florida. Yeah,
absolutely. And then on top of that, you have language barriers. So you might go to a scene and thank God, NBC, we have a part where together with Telemundo, I was able to like help me out when it came to like coming to like Little Havana or other places, or Hialeah, were predominantly Hispanic communities. So I would go there, man, what happened? Was a shooting? Was that your son? No habla inglés. So now I have to, ¿qué pasó aquí? I have to learn a little Spanish to get me by, right?
Yeah.
So it had to be more resourceful. So that was a challenge. And then cool, you think, okay, I got a little bit of Spanish here and there. Now you have a Haitian community. Now you got to learn a little Creole there. And then also you got to turn around and there's a big Russian population. You got to learn a little, like just unbelievable amounts of challenges each and every day.
Interesting. So what was the biggest takeaway from being in a small, absolutely invisible market to a major top 20 market?
The pace. It's a lot faster. So
let's talk about that. Didn't I just tell you that you was in the minor leagues and you had to get acclimated to them pitchers pitching 80 miles an hour?
Listen.
Because when you get to the big leagues and they're pitching 98, that's a whole different stratosphere.
98 with a slider, a changeup, a knuckleball here and there. Yes.
And can you imagine if you would have just went out there and jumped on that? That's why I speak about the legs and the lungs and the preparation that's necessary in order to get you able to handle that bandwidth. It's important. And that's why I say this level of narcissism that this young entrepreneur set is having, comparing themselves to people who have been doing things for 20 and 30 years. I don't even do that anymore. I compare myself to the Elliot that I was so many years back.
Can I say one more thing, too? I know we're on the show, but I have to say one thing that does bother me a little bit. I hope that not all the younger generation does this, but this is what I've experienced from a good bit. We need to have more respect for the people who came before us.
Okay, let's pay homage. I'm listening.
I don't think that some of the younger folks, not all, again, some of them do a great job. But for instance, for me, growing up, I looked up to the Norman Robinsons, the Fred Blankenships in Atlanta, the Don Lemons, when I was watching CNN growing up as a kid and got his first book, Transparent. CNN had a lineup of TJ Holmes, Tony Harris, and Don Lemon, 3 brothers on CNN. If they came in here today, I would shut up and I don't care where I'm at in New Orleans. I will listen to them because they have so much knowledge. And I just want younger folks, so like when you hear a Norman Robinson or Warren Bell speak, that's knowledge that you can gain. Don't overtalk those guys. Don't try to outdo them. Learn and understand what they went through so you can channel that into your everyday life.
So I know something, and I'm going to share you the parallel. In the Buddhist faith, it's a sin to gain a lifetime of wisdom and knowledge and sit on your hands and retire. The older you get, the more you're supposed to teach. This is their faith. But in a U.S. culture, we throw mama from the train and we put her in Shady Tree retirement home. And so the elders have taken a little bit of a perception hit as the generations have gotten a little bit more different. Because remember, grandma used to raise the kids and all. I mean, it's we all over the place right now.
Yeah.
And so when I see this new generation of business owners and economy and things like that, the reason they don't have any respect for older people is because older people are brittle, and the youth thinks it's about the physicality. I've seen young fighters go in the gym and get beat up by old fighters. And the lesson was very humbling, and sometimes they get it, sometimes they don't, and so I tell people all the time, there's a saying that youth is wasted on the young. And I think it's just one of those things. I am so much more respectful now that I'm a man of means and age, that anybody that I see that's older, I am definitely going to give them their flowers and their respect. I'm going to ask questions. I'm going to reverence their theory and want to talk to them about what they're going through because I get it. The reason that I just framed up your entire language is because I see you coming from Harvey to Georgia to Alabama to now Miami and continuously growing and taking steps. But like I said, labor under correct knowledge. You will not be lucky if you don't deserve it. Okay, you have to almost manifest it. You have to almost speak it into existence. You got to actually deserve it. People, Elliot, how do you get what you want in life? Deserve it. I ain't say earn it. I ain't say work for it. I said deserve it. We're talking about having shot the shots. You can't just be, I'm gonna be Steph Curry. Okay, cool, no problem. Did you shoot 10,000 shots this year?
Did you work? Yeah. Did you work for it?
I'm sorry, 1,000 a day.
1,000, yeah.
Tiger used to hit 1,000 balls a day.
Yeah.
Venus would swing a 500 to 600 to 1,000 shots a day, and that's the difference. You know, why do you want the trophy without the actual grind?
The hard work. It's that, like you said earlier, that popcorn mindset or that microwave mindset. You want things instantly, but it takes time.
I tell people Starbucks ruined a lot of people because you can have it your way through the app. It's on the counter. You don't have to speak to anybody. It's already paid. The commerce is handled. You don't have to speak to the barista. You walk in, you look at your name, you grab your stuff, you walk out.
Wow.
And so that's not really the way everything works. You know, if you go to line now, you know, the drive-thru used to be efficient, and it still is. But restaurants are struggling because people are not willing to wait the time that it takes to actually get the food in the grease and out the grease, in the bag, accurately, paid for, around the little store, and you drop the bag off with some girl that spoke to you through the teleprompter.
Yeah.
It's rough out here.
Unless you're at Chick-fil-A.
and they meet you on the street.
They meet you on the street.
You know what I'm saying?
And they meet you, Darryl.
Yeah, they meet you on the street. Wait, my pleasure. You know what I'm saying?
And then you don't say refill, refresh your beverage. Oh, I was in that.
God.
I was in
Come
that
on,
word.
I
don't say you're welcome. I don't say you're welcome anymore.
So you're in Miami. You said you did 3 years there.
Did 3 years there? Yes, did 3 years there.
The influx of Spanish, the Latin community, the whole 9 yards. You got a chance to see a difference than the Alabama crowd.
Way different. And I had to, make some personal changes when it came to, the way I spoke, because I'm from the South, so there's that little drawl I had and everything. And my news director called me one day. I went live for the Weather Channel, and I said, "Yeah, this stop sign." She called me. She said, "Yeah, we're gonna get you some voice lessons." So I went through, got some voice lessons, and tell
me what happens in a voice lesson.
So I had and I still kind of do, but it's not nowhere near what it used to be. But I had a really high pitched voice, like really, really high.
And so you say you can train that out?
I had to, yeah. There's and I even still do them to this day. Like before I'm live starting at 4:30 in the morning, and so I got to make sure my voice is like, good to go. So there's certain exercises I had to do and certain ways I had to say my words and stuff, and I had to be really conscious for some of those. I still do here and there, but yeah, I had to. It was probably a couple months of training. Yeah,
I didn't know
training and at home drills and stuff.
But it makes sense because if you train anything in this lifetime, you can develop a level of proficiency in it, and you can also improve it.
100%, absolutely.
And so why would you not be able to train your voice?
Absolutely. And also, I had the same hunger I told you about when I got that job in Greenville. I had that same. My teacher always told me, and she scared the mess out of me. Sonia Barnes, yet again. There was one day my last semester, I was complacent because I was killing it, so to speak. And she sat me in her office, she closed the door, locked the door really, and said, "This complacency is not going to get you anywhere. Every day you need to be hungry to learn, to get better each and every day, because if you don't, you're going to be left behind, including in here. So get it together." Well, she said another word. She said, "Get it together." Opened the door, saw me out. Ever since then, I've always had the hunger to just constantly get better because I don't know who's behind me trying to take my spot or who's watching me. So I got to try to get better each and every day.
I had a guy who went to the NFL, LSU graduate, local high school graduated from LSU, went on to the NFL to play football. He said he had no idea. Because there were a lot of colleges he could have went to, Ole Miss, Alabama. He could have went a bunch of different places because he was a top 10 recruit in his position that year. He said when he got to college, he was still the man. He said when he was in high school, he was a man amongst boys. Then when he got to college and he went and looked at 5 or 6 different places, Texas included, he ended up at LSU because that was the best chance for winning a national championship. And it was also close enough to home where he was still going to be able to get the best of both worlds. So he goes to LSU. He says he's playing at LSU. He started, let's say, the last 2 years of being at LSU. Could have started the previous sophomore year, but he ended up, getting half the snaps. So he started his junior year and his senior year. He was so much better than anyone at the position, played every single game. He knew that he was that guy. goes into the NFL. He doesn't get drafted first because of his position, because obviously we want quarterbacks and maybe some other position depending on the team's needs and whatnot. So he says, now I'm in the NFL. I'm on a 32-man roster, something like that. And I don't know how many teams. They got 32 teams or whatever. I don't know. 50-man roster, 32 teams.
Yeah.
There we go. And he said, everybody's good. He said, not just good, they're incredible. They're a household name at the level. And everybody can play every position, but they've learned to just focus and master the one that they got an opportunity to do. Because who you going to hire? The jack of all trades and the master of none, or the one who is just absolutely the most skilled at that one thing? Because that's the concept of team, right? And so he's like, Elliot, if I miss a day because I'm sick, somebody else is already in the uniform wearing my number.
Yeah.
It's like that out here.
They'll replace you like that.
Yeah, it's like that out here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like that out here. And so what you said about you looking over your shoulder because somebody's coming, man, it's out here like that.
Yeah. I'll be honest. I mean, especially like in any business in general, but in the news business, I mean, hey, and I speak for my station, but like any other place I go to, hey, look, we can find another black man with glasses.
I heard that.
That's my mindset.
But
like,
you also do know that there are not that many.
Yeah, there's not that many. There's not that many at all. But my mindset is, okay, I can't be complacent and sit here and think I'm the man and got it all, because I might. Some may say I might, but in my eyes, I don't. I still got more work to do. So that's how I try to strive for myself, especially like shifting over and being a dad to a 2.5-year-old. Pray for me. That's a whole different thing I'm trying to learn there too.
Yeah.
So many different avenues.
Yeah, but guess what though? If you do what you got to do all the years of your life, then everything that you're faced, you should have something in your trick bag for it.
Absolutely.
So 3 years in Miami, what was the career point that brought you to your next step?
So I loved Miami. It was a great place. I
would have never left, but go ahead.
It was a great place to be. I went from working the early morning shift. They moved me night side, so I worked the night shift. I was like, okay, this is great. Loved my shift, loved everything. I get a call from CNN. And CNN watched, my breaking stories because, there's so many national stories coming out of South Florida, whether it was Fort Lauderdale, the Key West, Miami Beach. It didn't matter. It was a lot of national stories coming out. So I got a lot of people saw my stuff. And so I got a call and they said, hey, like, we're interested in bringing you, to be one of our correspondents. And I was like, and my agent told me this, and I'm like, you sure they got the right person?
Shit, give me that job.
You positive? You sure?
You can give me that job right now. I'll mess it up and try to figure it out. Give me that job.
And so I went through it was a few months process. And my news director in Miami was like, are you resigning? What's going on here? Like, she thought I was going to easily resign. I was like, oh, I'll let you know. I called my agents like, when are they going to let me know? And I remember the day I got the call, I was in my apartment in Miami. It was like probably 7:30 that morning. I was off. And I get a call. And it was the talent team at CNN, and they said, we would like to formally offer you a position as a correspondent with CNN News Source based in Atlanta.
Man, drop the mic. Check, please.
I said I accept. Of course, my agent would get the paperwork, negotiations. I cried my eyes. That same time when I cried my eyes out going back from that place that told me I couldn't be in the news business, drive home with a little to no gas money, I cried my eyes out because my dream in life, doing those CNN tours in Atlanta at the CNN Center, my goal was like, I want to be here one day.
Man, go ahead on.
I want to be here one day.
Go ahead on. Tell me everything. So you didn't resign in Miami. Mm-hmm. You went ahead and made that journey. You're in Atlanta. You are now doing correspondent work. Tell me what does that entail?
Oh man, so I worked for CNN has it's called CNN News Source, but you still correspond with CNN. But CNN has well over 1,000 news affiliates all across the globe.
Of course.
So not only am I going live for CNN, I'm going live for the local stations in New Orleans, Atlanta, South Florida. I'm going live for stations in Toronto, going live for stations in Australia, going live for stations in South America. But they have a translator while I'm talking. Like, you're going, and we're not talking about, like, usually when I was a reporter, I would do maybe 3 to 4 live shots a day.
Okay.
At CNN News Source, I did 3 to 4 live shots every 30 minutes.
Oh, wow. Really?
So there were some days, and I'll give you an example. When I covered when Kobe Bryant died,
okay,
I was in LA for that. I had to fly to LA. And I looked down and I had a total of maybe like 56 live shots that day lined up. 56
you
live
had to
shots.
cover that story.
Had to cover that story. And every station all across the country wanted that story on their airwaves. So for like, let's say I'm in there starting at 4 o'clock in the morning because it's West Coast time. 4 o'clock in the morning, I'll start doing live shots for Miami. I'm on with them for 5 minutes. And the very next hit is in Memphis, Tennessee. The next hit's for a station in Houston. Then the next hit's for a station in Atlanta. You see where I'm going? Look, so I never had time to rest. When I was in Minneapolis covering the whole George Floyd protests, the day after everything went down, I had nonstop standing around, running around, doing all these live shots, getting maced by police and law enforcement. I mean, it was an absolute grind.
But you know what? You learned and got your feet wet in Alabama.
Everything, and it goes back to what you talked about, everything that I learned from working in Alabama, working in Miami, it all intertwined.
Yep.
It all came.
All things work together.
Exactly.
Hey,
100%.
bro, listen. So I tell people that we spend decades to become an overnight success. I've been working in my proficiency for decades to be an overnight success. That's kind of how I work. It took me my whole life to become an overnight success. And people don't understand that.
Yeah.
And so I struggle with, you know how many people keep starting and stopping. I just recently told someone yesterday, I was like, look, I am the culmination of a lot of small strategic decisions that add up. And I'm willing to do that because I see the fruit and the benefit of 1 + 1. I know people who play multiplications. Now, the problem with the gambler spirit is that it doesn't yield you stability.
It's true.
Think about it. I am 1 + 1, and I'm going to always keep compounding. And my composition will always outweigh the person who's swinging for the hills. Now, history might remember you, but my life is going to look different.
Yeah.
And I don't know. So, how many years did you correspond for CNN?
I was there about 2.5, 3 years.
Getting big stories.
Getting big. I mean, I covered wildfires, hurricanes, Kobe Bryant's death, George Floyd protests. I was at the White House a couple times. I covered things under both the Biden and the Trump administrations. I was on Capitol Hill. I was covering the New Year's ball drop in New York as Post Malone and Steve Harvey sitting here behind me, and I got Anderson Cooper and Andy Cohen. I'm just like, bro, this is like, I'm in a dream right now. So I covered so many incredible stories all across the country.
I'm not mad with you, and I'm happy for you. I wish that you could have just brought me with you. So, you know what I'm saying? I'm just, you know what I'm saying? I mean, I can carry a bag or something,
Man,
you know?
a little something.
Come on, man.
I got you. Nah, it was. I tell you, it was the delight of my life. But at a certain point, I was like, you know what? I do want to become a family man. My wife, who was my girlfriend at the time, like, trying to figure out, I was talking to other correspondents, like, yo, you have like 4 kids. Like, how do you do it? And some would say, like, hey, dear, I'm going to be honest with you. And thankfully, they were honest with me. I had to sacrifice my fatherhood to accomplish the dream that I want to have.
Somebody sat in that chair right there and told me that if it was him versus the guy in the carpool line, he was going to beat that guy every time. And I understood that. And that's why I said the Barack and Michelle business model where they have the babies in the late 30s. And that there's wisdom to both sides of the argument. Get it out the way early or, whatever the case. I don't really know. I don't know there's no one size fits all for everybody.
No, everybody's different.
Everybody's different. But so when did you decide to start a family?
So I decided, I would probably say, man, once we got married in May, about 4 years ago, we're coming up on that pretty soon. Once we got married, we were like, okay, let's just give it, a year, whatever. And then this is before I got to New Orleans. So I left CNN not really knowing what was next, but I was like, I want to be somebody's anchor. And lo and behold, WDSU called. This was not even a thought of mine of coming back home to New Orleans. And they offered me the job to be the noon and 4 anchor. And we came down to New Orleans. We rented this house out in Metairie. We kind of got a little settled, and we were like, it's time to have a kid. And so we had our first daughter. Her name is Kai. And you see her on my socks here. This is her when she was 9 months old. I gotta get a little updated socks.
Yeah.
But we decided, now's the perfect time. So that's when we decided to have little Miss Kai.
So you have a little bit of time stability because you're on a consistent schedule. Yeah. And I remember that some anchors in cities like a New Orleans, they can stay on that same spot for decades.
Absolutely. Because imagine being with your kids and you get a call saying, "Hey, Kobe Bryant just died. We need you to go to the last flight from Atlanta to LA leaves in an hour and a half."
Yeah, that's kind of hard. That's actually unfair at that point. It's the job.
It's the job, and I loved it. But for me, it didn't match up to being a father. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to miss my daughter first time saying dad, or my daughter's first steps, or I don't want to miss that because I'm the oldest of 4. I have a brother and 2 sisters. My family, we were very close. Mm-hmm. And so I wanted to have that same type of life for my child. My mom and dad never missed anything. Never missed a baseball practice, never missed a baseball game. Anything I had to do, they were always there in support. They sacrificed so much for me. They sometimes they didn't really have any money.
But guess what, though?
They made it happen.
Did you know that prior to having kids or after?
Of what?
Your parents and their sacrifice to your life.
I knew it, but I didn't understand it as a child. But as I got older, I'm like, wait, you skipped that light bill to pay for my baseball bat? You skipped that bill, or you made that sacrifice? Correct. So you tell me you didn't buy yourself clothes for 5 years to make sure we had clothes for school? Like, I didn't understand that till I got older.
And old too soon, smart too late. Mm-hmm. Mike Tyson taught me that. That's very interesting because now you're here in New Orleans. Welcome home officially from me. Been here for a while, and you bring a very different element to the news here locally. What do you think is the greatest work that you can? What are you shooting for here?
My biggest work is to inspire that next boy or girl who is watching me each and every morning.
Yeah,
because I get a lot of moms, I get a lot of some dads, even like some kids will tell me like, if I'm not watching in the morning, I'm not ready to go for the day. And so seeing like kids, hey, I want to be like Darryl when I grow up. Like that to me is the ultimate thing. And so my biggest thing is just inspiring young Black boys, especially in our communities, that, hey, like me with my daughter, me with my wife, a 2-parent household, me doing what I'm doing, the way I'm dressing, you can be this too, but you got to put the work in first. And so I think my biggest thing is, of course, telling the stories that matter. But my other biggest goal too is, as a journalist, showing us as Black men, as African Americans in this community, showing some of the good stuff too.
Yeah.
I think
news doesn't always have to be negative,
It doesn't have to be negative. The saying, if it bleeds, it leads. And something that unfortunately is true based off what people want to consume. People love to consume mess, right? We love the Real Housewives mess.
Hey, come on, listen.
We love it.
We see a car accident, we slow down.
We're going to stop.
We're going to slow down.
Yeah. I know them. So we love that. But there's a lot of great things happening in New Orleans and our communities that really need to be highlighted. So I do the best I can to highlight local Black-owned businesses as much as I can to really show, we are doing these things. We are beating these narratives, especially for our Black men out there.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So you got a why and a what. Mm-hmm. Okay. How can people follow you and support you?
Oh man, you can follow me on social media at Darryl Forges on Instagram, X, Facebook. Darryl Forges. And if there's anything in your communities, and one thing I really take a focus on is watching my DMs to folks who have this. Hey, Darryl, did you know that we have the first African-American X, Y, and Z? Like the other day, which is a story we're working on, there is a Motor Coach Hall of Fame in Nashville, Tennessee.
What the hell is that?
So Nashville's home of country music, all other stuff. They have a lot of Hall of Fame musically out there. There's a Motor Coach Hall of Fame for drivers who drive these celebrities each and every day, thousands and millions of miles all across the country, across lines in Canada and stuff like that. They have a Hall of Fame for them because of the work they do. Well, a couple weeks ago, the first Black members of the Motor Coach Hall of Fame were inducted. And where are they from? The West Bank. And guess what? Their last name, didn't know this until I found the story out, their last name is Forges. They're my cousins. Never knew it.
Yeah. I struggle sometimes with the awareness of where Black and brown people appear in history and in success, because there are not a lot of them that look like I do in my industry. And I do the best I can to try to be as authentic as I am, as I can be, rather. But nonetheless, I appreciate you, for being an intelligent broadcast journalist. And I wish you all the success in your career. And if anything I can do to help you, you just let me know.
Oh, I will contact you. Don't worry about that.
Yeah. So thank you for being here. But more importantly, them colleges maybe, because did you see you when you were the younger version of you? Because you said that you saw the ones who came before you. And that's a high level of appreciation that most young people today just don't have because of the disconnect. Remember, these kids today aren't asking a lot of questions because that phone has inebriated their speech, and so as a result, they're not communicating. And I was an inquisitive young kid. I would talk your head off.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have the phone. I literally grew up without a phone. I was outside playing. I would leave the house early in the morning and come back when the streetlights came on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so that level of independence and self-sufficiency is not something that we have because these parents today got them life locks.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? They can just about drive the car from the phone.
It's so funny though, Ellie, because we're so similar in that aspect. Because when my internships, I interned at WSB, one of the biggest powerhouse stations across the country. That's in Atlanta, and my internship, I would, of course, stay there from I was supposed to stay from 8 a.m. until 3 p.m. Mm-hmm. I would come in there at 6:30, and I would leave until probably 10 o'clock that night.
Yeah.
Because I wanted to learn so much of what was going, because I had that hunger and that feeling. And also, and some of that you're so right on is the phone is consuming these kids, but also, in some cases, pride. They think they know more than you in some cases.
I think that's because that's what the phone has taught them. You are already Kobe Bryant, and you don't have a jersey, a uniform, or a basketball.
Yeah.
You are already XYZ, and you haven't done any of that yet. Yeah. And so the dopamine of the likes and the follows and the other things that social media has done to kids and has damaged their mental health, I mean, it's rough out here. And I say that only because I'm trying to do as much as I can to bring awareness and to try to teach as many as I possibly can. But it's enlightening to see an intelligent, articulate brother like you. And I tell you, I'm going to give you flowers now on the Business is War podcast. Your journey has been inspiring, and you are going to do a great work in letting other people know that, hey, there is an opportunity for me to do this and to be able to cover some of the more important stories and be a part of the history telling. And I again, I got some work at some colleges I'm doing. I would love to tag you in on some of that.
Absolutely.
Okay. And we're going to do that. So, in closing, they know how to reach you now because you've already given us your social concepts. So what's next for you?
What's next for me is just continuing pushing for my community. Mm-hmm. Continue to push and tell the stories that matter. Mm-hmm. Continue to when you wake up in the morning, you might hear the tough news in the morning, but man, you get some type of light and levity when you see me in the morning give you the stories. My biggest thing is just bringing joy to people. Yeah. Because you never know what people are going through. No. I am never going to tell somebody they can't do something or what's happening because A, I don't know your capabilities, because you may turn around and say, gotcha, I did it. Yeah. Or B, you never know what people are going through. Yeah, for sure. And so, and I've had people, reach out to me like, man, you understand, you and your morning team, y'all made my day. I was going through X, Y, and Z with my family, and y'all helped me. Mm-hmm. And so just being that person of I guess you could say journalistic ministry. Yeah. Of helping them when they need it, to me means the world more to you than anything. Use your platform in any possible way you can. Absolutely. Well, ladies and gentlemen, today we had the pleasure of speaking with an Emmy Award-winning broadcast journalist, somebody who I aspire to be as articulate and as sharp as. And you're going to help me with my speech and my lessons, correct? Got you. Okay. And we have that on camera. And so, listen, if you're a young man, a young woman, if you're a young person, or if you're an older person and you have an aptitude for covering things, the news, and telling the tales of the greats,
Well, today we had the pleasure of Darryl Forges giving us his story and his background. And so what you saw from his story and his background is that he did it and you can too. And I want you to know that business is war. You should protect yourself at all times. But more importantly, just do the work, put in the reps, and never leave the gym. Y'all have a great day, and I'll see you on the other side.